Oh, welcome back. A culture of savings and investment is severely lacking in South Africa. This is not brand new news. According to National Treasury, though, it's quite bad. Only 6% of people have planned enough to ensure a comfortable retirement. That's a staggeringly small number of people. And with that, part of that small group is even smaller. Women lag very far behind. So let's find out how do we try and bridge that gap and close the retirement readiness gap. There she is, Head of Marketing at Discovery Invest, Jennifer Arendse, speaking to us this morning. Jennifer, morning. Good to have you with us on the South African morning. And we need to first unpack why is it that women in general are lagging further behind. It comes to mind for me is because women earn less than men.
Absolutely, Gareth, and thank you. Thanks for having me this morning. So there's a report that actually measures this, produced by the World Economic Forum. It's called the Global Gender Gap Report, and they measure where the differences are. And you're 100% right. The first thing, there are three things that actually contribute to it, but the first thing is women do earn less than men. And you can look at the latest stats from SA, and it could be, at a non-educated level, women earn just more than half of what men earn. And then it gets a little bit less at an educated level, but there are significant gaps that still need to be addressed.
So how do we try and address those issues, Jennifer, as well? Because it's one thing for us to keep talking about, and we have. It's not new that women are earning less, but it just seems, as unfair as it is, it's not going to change overnight. So how does the woman in South Africa try and get on top of their retirement?
Well, I think it's something that's difficult to change in isolation on your own, but I think certainly what women need to start doing is start negotiating their paychecks. I think you get into the trap of accepting that this is what should be paid. But I think that given that you can see there's a gap, women need to start challenging what they get paid. There are other things that we also need to look at. So another reason why there's this gender gap is we have shorter careers. So you'll find that women take time off to look after elderly parents, they look after their children. And you find that there's almost 10 years less working for women than men, which means you're accumulating less. So you need better conditions for women when they do take off and they do look after their family. Their freelance and consultation type of working arrangements need to start making provision for that. And I think that's something that can be supported at an overall institutional level. But the main thing women need to start doing is speak up and say, I know I'm not earning enough. What are we doing to close the gap between men and female remuneration?
Where does investment companies like Discovery come into this? Is there not a way of adjusting, for example, investment rates specifically for women off the back of everything you just described? How could investments change how they support women in a case like this?
Yeah, that's a good question, Gareth. And I think there are things that women can do in addition to the negotiation, and where companies like ourselves support women. We incentivize people for the right behaviors, and we try and close those retirement gaps, which exist both in women and in male environments. So when you invest with us, we try and give you an extra boost to your retirement savings so you can close your gap. But I think that you can do in addition to that, and I think things that people don't take enough advantage of, is start saving as early as possible. If you have a savings term of 40 years and more, there is a much better chance of you having the retirement that you want. So where we can help us, so that's what we do. So we incentivize people to start saving earlier. The earlier they do, the more incentive we give them on that. We also find that women are a little bit more cautious. So the research says that when we invest, we are probably better investors than men because we're not as compulsive. We tend to stay. We are more disciplined, more committed, which is essential in an investment environment if you want investment success. But women tend to be a little bit more cautious when they invest, and they put more of their money into cash, which we know over the longer term is not a great strategy. And you want to have some stocks, some bonds, some property in your portfolio when you invest for such a long term so that you can get that growth. So that's what we do on our side. We try and educate and inform. And I think a big part of the problem is not having the right amount of education and information to inform us about how we're closing those gaps. So it's about speaking up when you have the opportunity to speak up and taking advantage of opportunities out there where people allow you to close your gap when you display the right sort of behavior.
So the behavior, and if the opportunities are there from an investment perspective, then at least be able to do that. So there are options. Jennifer, thank you very much. I appreciate your time in speaking to us. It's not an easy solution at all, but at least there looks like there is some solutions if you take the time to understand how investment TUMZA is done in the country and what advantages there are. It doesn't solve the wage gap. It doesn't fix that problem. But at least there are some investment vehicles that can try and close what they call the retirement readiness gap, at least.
Particularly for women.
Especially for women.
Yeah.
They don't earn enough money. They're not earning as much money. They've got to look after children, older parents, etc. as well. So it's not fair. Not at all from the wage perspective, but at least there seems to be some plan around retirement gaps.
All right. Well, of